Every door he entered locked behind him. What began as ambition ended as imprisonment. This is the story of a man who traded his freedom for power, only to discover that some oaths are signed in blood but paid with your soul. Chidi knelt in the dim room, his knees pressing against cold concrete. Candles flickered along the walls, casting dancing shadows across the faces of men he had admired from a distance. Now they watched him in silence, their eyes heavy with knowledge he desperately wanted. "Repeat after me," the elder said, his voice like gravel. Chidi's throat was dry, but he began. Words he barely understood spilled from his lips. Ancient phrases. Promises wrapped in metaphors. His phone vibrated in his pocket outside the room where life continued without him, but here, nothing existed except his voice and their judgment. The oath felt ceremonial at first. Almost symbolic. Just words to prove commitment, he told himself. But as the final syllable left his mouth, the candle before him was blown out by no wind he could feel. In the sudden darkness, Chidi heard something that made his stomach drop. The door behind him, the one he'd entered through, clicking shut. Not closed. Locked. When the lights returned, the men were smiling. "Welcome, brother," they said. But Chidi could only hear the sound of that lock echoing in his mind. 6 months earlier, Chidi was invisible. He sat in wedding receptions watching his age mates spray money like tap water while he calculated bus fare home. He was smart, everyone said so. First-class degree, sharp dresser, well-spoken. Yet opportunities slipped past him like smoke. His friends rose faster. Suddenly, they had contracts, connections, invitations to places that never opened for him. At parties, people greeted them first, listened when they spoke, remembered their names. Chidi smiled through it all, nodding, laughing, pretending he wasn't burning inside. At night, alone in his one-room apartment in Suralere, the envy poisoned his prayers. "God, why not me?" he whispered into the darkness. "I work hard. I'm honest. What am I doing wrong?" The city taught him a bitter lesson: patience was for people who could afford to wait. Lagos didn't reward good men. It rewarded bold ones. He began watching his successful friends more carefully. How they moved, who they knew, where they went. There had to be a pattern, a secret handshake, a door he wasn't seeing. And slowly, a dangerous thought took root: maybe success wasn't about working harder. Maybe it was about knowing the right people. Emeka changed first. They'd been friends since university, struggling together, dreaming together. Then suddenly, Emeka wasn't struggling anymore. New car. New apartment in Lekki. Expensive wristwatch that caught light like a warning. "Guy, congrats on the new whip," Chidi said one evening, trying to hide his confusion. "Which contract came through?" Emeka smiled, but his eyes were distant. "Just connecting with the right people, bro. You know how it is." But Chidi didn't know. That was the problem. When they hung out now, people treated Emeka differently. Older men shook his hand with respect. Women leaned in when he spoke. Even waiters moved faster when he called. "Introduce me to these your connections now," Chidi joked, though his heart was serious. Emeka's smile faded slightly. "It's not that simple, bro. Some doors, you have to be invited through." That night, Chidi couldn't sleep. He replayed every detail of Emeka's transformation. No new degree. No obvious business. Just sudden, unexplained access to a life Chidi had been chasing for years. The envy was no longer quiet. It screamed in his chest, keeping him awake, rewriting his prayers into demands. There must be another way, he thought. And I need to find it. Chief Adelik noticed him at a networking event. Chidi hadn't expected to be seen. He stood near the back, nursing cheap wine, watching important people laugh at jokes that probably weren't funny. Then a hand touched his shoulder. "Young man, you look frustrated," Chief said, his voice warm but knowing. Chidi straightened, recognizing the face from newspapers. "No sir, just observing." Chief smiled. "I've been watching you observe for 20 minutes. A man who watches that carefully is either a spy or someone who feels left out." He paused. "Which are you?" The honesty in the question disarmed Chidi. "The second one, sir." They talked for an hour. Chief asked about his background, his dreams, his frustrations. He didn't offer solutions or make promises. He just listened like Chidi's words mattered. Before leaving, Chief handed him a business card. "Call me when you're ready to stop watching and start moving," Chief said. As Chidi walked home that night, the card burned in his pocket. But one question Chief had asked lingered like smoke: how far are you willing to go for the life you want? Chidi didn't have an answer then. But he was starting to find one. His sister Ngozi came to visit unannounced. She found him ironing a new shirt, humming, his face brighter than she'd seen in months. "Chidi, what's happening?" she asked, sitting on his bed. "You're different." He laughed. "Different how?" "Because I'm finally happy." "No, because you're secretive." Her eyes searched his face. "You used to tell me everything. Now you dodge my calls, you're always in a meeting, and you have new clothes you can't explain." Chidi's jaw tightened. "So success is suspicious now? You want me to stay broke forever?" Ngozi stood up, her voice trembling. "I want you to stay you. Whatever you're doing, whatever door you're trying to enter, please slow down. Some doors close behind you, brother." Her words hung in the air. For a moment, Chidi almost told her about Chief Adelik, about the invitation to something bigger. But then his phone buzzed. A message from Chief: "Meeting tomorrow. Come ready." After Ngozi left, Chidi saw her text: "I'm praying for you. Please be careful." He started typing a reply. Then deleted it. Some things, he told himself, family wouldn't understand. That night, he slept with his phone on silent. The gathering was in a private lounge in Victoria Island. No sign outside, just a black gate and a man in a dark suit who checked his name on a list. When Chidi entered, he recognized faces from television, business magazines, and whispered conversations. Chief Adelik waved him over. "Gentlemen, this is Chidi. Sharp mind, hungry spirit." Men nodded, some shook his hand. Their grips were firm, their eyes measuring. No one asked what he did for a living or why he was there. They simply accepted his presence as though it had been decided long before he arrived. They talked about business, politics, opportunities. Chidi mostly listened, absorbing every word, every name dropped, every coded reference to deals and connections. At one point, a man mentioned a contract worth millions. Another man simply nodded, and it was understood the contract was his. That's when Chidi realized this was how the real city worked. Not through applications and interviews, but through rooms like this, where power was passed between men who understood the unspoken rules. On his way home, Chidi's phone rang 3 times. Opportunities he'd been chasing for months were suddenly, mysteriously, within reach. He hadn't asked for help. But doors were opening anyway. His first task was simple. Chief Adelik called him to a quiet restaurant and slid an envelope across the table. "Take this to an address in Ikoyi," Chief said. "Don't open it. Don't ask questions. Just deliver it and come back." Chidi held the envelope, feeling its weight. "That's all. That's all." The address belonged to a mansion. A gateman took the envelope without a word. Chidi returned to Chief, who smiled and handed him another envelope. This one was thicker. 20,000 naira, Chief said. "For your time." Chidi stared at the money. More than he'd made in 2 months of job hunting. for 30 minutes of driving. Chief, I don't understand. What did I just deliver? Chief's smile faded slightly. You delivered trust. That's what we deal in here. Can I trust you to do what you're asked without asking questions? Chidi nodded slowly. Yes, sir. That night, Chidi paid his rent, bought groceries, and took himself to a nice restaurant. The relief felt like proof. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just finally being rewarded for his loyalty. That's what he told himself as he fell asleep, the envelope's weight already forgotten. At his cousin's birthday party, someone asked the question he'd been dreading, Chidi, how come you're suddenly doing well? You get contract. Everyone turned to him, waiting. His mother's eyes were especially curious, hopeful. This was his moment to share good news. They like him easily. Too easily. I'm doing consultancy work, Chidi said, his voice steady. Connecting businesses, you know. It's finally paying off. They believed him. Why wouldn't they? He believed himself as he said it. His cousin clapped him on the back. His mother's face glowed with pride. Someone made a joke about him finally using his degree. Later, as he drove home, Chidi replayed the moment. He'd lied to his family without blinking, without hesitation, without even feeling guilty. The words had flowed like water, smooth and natural. That should have scared him. But instead, he felt something else, power. The power to control his own story, to shape how people saw him, to protect what he was building. That night, he slept deeply for the first time in months. No nightmares, no anxiety, just the heavy, dreamless sleep of a man who'd finally stopped fighting. Within weeks, Chidi's life transformed. The man who used to wait outside offices for interviews now had people waiting to meet him. At events, strangers greeted him by name. Old contacts who'd ignored his messages suddenly replied within minutes. Chidi, we should discuss that partnership, one man said. Brother Chidi, let's talk business, another offered. He was invited to private dinners, exclusive lounges, and WhatsApp groups where information flowed like currency. His opinions, once dismissed, now carried weight. When he spoke, people leaned in. When he made suggestions, they were considered seriously. But Chidi noticed something strange. Everyone respected him, but no one really knew him. Conversations stayed surface level. Questions about his life were politely avoided. It was as if his past had been erased, replaced by this new identity, Brother Chidi, the connected one. At a wedding reception, a childhood friend approached him excitedly. Guy, long time. Remember when we used to? I'm sorry, I have to take this call, Chidi interrupted, walking away from memories he no longer wanted to claim. Later, driving home in his new car, Chidi looked in the rearview mirror. The face staring back looked successful, confident, powerful. But for a brief moment, he didn't recognize it. Her name was Amora. She was elegant, educated, and exactly the kind of woman who would have never noticed the old Chidi. But the new Chidi, with his confidence and access, caught her attention immediately. They met at a gallery opening. She was admiring art he couldn't afford a month ago. Now, he casually mentioned he might purchase a piece. She smiled, intrigued. Their conversations were easy. She asked about his work, and he gave vague, impressive answers. She asked about his family, and he changed the subject to where they should have dinner. She never pushed. Perhaps she didn't want to know. Amora's life improved because of him. Restaurant reservations that were impossible became available. Event invitations appeared. Even her small business suddenly gained important clients. She never asked how these miracles happened. She just smiled and kissed him, grateful. You're so well connected, she said one evening, tracing his jawline. How did you build all this? Chidi pulled her close, avoiding her eyes. Hard work and the right people, he said. She accepted this. Or pretended to. When she asked about his past, his childhood, his struggles, he always redirected, let's focus on our future, not my past. And she let him. Because the life he offered was too good to question. The second task came during a late-night call. Chief Adelik's voice was calm but firm. There's a young man, turned back here, applying for the same tender your friend's company wants. I need you to make some calls. Block his approval. Chidi's chest tightened. Chief, I don't even know this person. What did he do? He's in the way. That's enough. Chidi thought about refusing. This was different from delivering envelopes. This was destroying someone's opportunity, maybe someone like him, hungry, hardworking, desperate for a break. But Chief continued, your friend's company will win the tender. You'll receive 10%. That's 400,000 naira. For 2 phone calls. The number silenced Chidi's conscience. 400,000. That was real money. Life-changing money. He made the calls. Used his new connections, whispered the right words to the right people. 3 days later, Tom's application was rejected on a technicality. The money arrived in Chidi's account exactly as promised. He stared at the numbers, feeling the weight of what he'd done. Somewhere, a young man's dreams had died. And Chidi had killed them. That night, guilt followed him home. But morning came with bills to pay. And the guilt got quieter. At a Brotherhood meeting, an older man named Chief Okonkwo sat beside Chidi. They didn't speak during the gathering, but as people left, the chief remained. Finally, he spoke, you remind me of myself, 20 years ago. Hungry. Ambitious. Willing. Chidi felt complimented. Thank you, sir. Chief Okonkwo stared at him for a long moment, his eyes carrying decades of secrets. Then he said something in Igbo, Oku egboziri agbotsi, onegi akusi aya oku. Fire borrowed still burns. He stood and walked away, leaving Chidi confused. Was that a warning? Advice? A test? Chidi asked Chief Adelik later what it meant. Chief Okonkwo talks too much, Adelik laughed. Don't mind him. Old men and their proverbs. But the next day, Chidi was promoted within the Brotherhood. Given more access, more responsibility, more trust. He received a new title, a formal recognition that he was no longer just a member but someone important. The promotion felt like validation. Chief Okonkwo's warning faded into background noise. Perhaps the old man was jealous, Chidi thought. Or perhaps he was simply testing Chidi's resolve. Either way, Chidi chose to interpret the silence as approval. And he continued climbing. The assignment was simple, attend a meeting and ensure a particular vote went a specific way. But Chidi was tired. He'd been working non-stop, running errands for the Brotherhood while maintaining his public life. He needed rest. Chief, can someone else handle this one? Chidi asked carefully. I have family commitments. The phone line went silent. When Chief Adelik spoke again, his voice had changed. Still calm, but colder. Brother Chidi, I think you misunderstand how this works. These aren't requests. They are responsibilities. Responsibilities you accepted when you took the oath. Chidi's throat tightened. I understand, Chief. I just thought. You thought wrong. When the Brotherhood calls, you answer. That's not negotiable. The line went dead. Chidi stared at his phone, his hands trembling. He tried to say no for the first time, and the response was clear, no wasn't an option. That night, he attended the meeting. Voted as instructed. Smiled as required. But something had shifted inside him. What he thought was opportunity now felt like obligation. What seemed like partnership now looked like ownership. As he drove home, a terrible realization crept in: he wasn't climbing a ladder. He was descending into a well. And the rope was getting shorter. Amora noticed everything. His late-night calls. His sudden disappearances. His phone always face down, always on silent, always just out of reach. "Chidi, what's going on?" she asked one evening, her voice breaking. "You're here, but you're not really here." He kissed her forehead, a distraction technique. "Just work stress, baby. You know how it is." "No, I don't know. Because you never tell me anything real." Her eyes filled with tears. "I feel like I'm dating a stranger." Chidi wanted to tell her everything. How trapped he felt. How every success came with invisible chains. How he traded his freedom for access and now couldn't find the exit. But instead, he reached for his wallet. "Let me take you shopping. I saw that bag you liked." Amora stared at him, heart flashing across her face. "I don't want a bag, Chidi. I want the truth." He couldn't give her that. So he gave her expensive gifts, surprise trips, and apologies wrapped in luxury. She accepted them, but her eyes grew sadder each time. One night, she whispered into the darkness, "I'm falling in love with someone I don't really know." Chidi pretended to be asleep. Because the truth was worse, he was becoming someone he didn't recognize either. The brother's name was Connor. Young, energetic, always smiling. He joined the Brotherhood the same month as Chidi, and they'd become friendly. Not close, but friendly enough to share jokes at meetings. Then one day, Connor simply wasn't there. His seat remained empty. No one mentioned him. No explanation, no announcement, just absence where a person used to be. After the meeting, Chidi pulled a senior brother aside. "Where's Connor?" The man's face remained neutral. He had to step away. Personal reasons. Will he be back? The senior brother placed a hand on Chidi's shoulder, his grip firm. "Brother Chidi, some questions show wisdom by not being asked." Later, Chidi tried calling Connor's number. Disconnected. His social media accounts, gone. It was as if Connor had never existed. At the next meeting, someone new sat in Connor's seat. Young, hungry, eager to please. The cycle continued. That night, Chidi couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Connor's empty chair, the deliberate silence, the casual way a human being had been erased from their circle. No one grieved. No one questioned. No one seemed to care. And the most terrifying part. Chidi realized he was learning not to care either. 3 months of sleepless nights finally broke Chidi. He requested a private meeting with Chief Adelik, choosing his words carefully. "Chief, I've been thinking. Maybe I need to step back for a while. Focus on other things." Chief Adelik smiled, but his eyes remained cold. "Step back to where, exactly?" "Just, reduce my involvement. I'm grateful for everything, but I need space." The chief laughed. Actually laughed. "Brother Chidi, did you not understand the oath you took? There's no reducing involvement. You're either in or you're in. There is no out." Chidi's chest tightened. "But surely, if someone wants to leave. Remember Connor." Chief interrupted, his voice dropping. "He wanted to leave too. Asked very nicely, just like you're doing now. Where is he now, Brother Chidi?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Chidi knew the answer. He'd known it the moment Connor disappeared. "That's what I thought," Chief said, standing. "Now, there's a meeting Thursday. I expect to see you there." That night, Chidi dreamed of doors. Endless corridors of doors, each one locked. He ran from door to door, pulling handles that wouldn't turn, pounding on wood that wouldn't break. When he finally found an open door, He rushed through it, only to find himself back in the old room, kneeling, the candle flickering, the door behind him clicking shut again. He woke up screaming. The assignments came faster now, each one more urgent, more demanding. Chidi's phone never stopped buzzing. Midnight calls. Early morning text. Sudden summons to locations across the city. We need you at this meeting in 30 minutes. Handle this situation quietly. Report back immediately. Your vote is required. No excuses. He was praised publicly. Brother Chidi is so reliable, but watched privately. He noticed cars following him. Strange calls where no one spoke. People appearing in places they shouldn't be, watching, recording, remembering. One evening, he tested his suspicion. Told Chief he had a family emergency and couldn't attend the gathering. 2 hours later, a brother showed up at his apartment. Chief sent me to check on you. Making sure everything's okay with your family. It wasn't care. It was surveillance. They were making sure he was where he said he'd be, doing what he claimed to do. Power had stopped feeling like control. It now felt like debt, endless, crushing debt that could never be fully paid. Every favor granted was a chain added. Every door opened was an exit sealed. Chidi wasn't climbing anymore. He was sinking. And the bottom was nowhere in sight. The younger brother's name was Femi. Bright-eyed, maybe 23, still believing the Brotherhood was about mentorship and networking. Chidi had been that naive once. It felt like lifetimes ago. Femi made a mistake. Nothing major, he'd shared information with someone outside the circle. An innocent error, really. But innocence didn't matter here. Chidi was summoned to a meeting at an unfamiliar location. When he arrived, Femi was already there, kneeling, trembling, tears streaming down his face. Brother Chidi, tell them it was an accident, Femi begged. Please. Chief Adelik stood over him. Brother Chidi, you've been here longer. What happens when someone breaks trust? Chidi's mouth went dry. He knew the answer they wanted. Knew what his silence would cost this young man. But he also knew what speaking up would cost him. Trust must be protected, Chidi heard himself say. What followed was brutal. Not physical violence, but systematic destruction. Femi's business contracts, cancelled. His bank accounts, frozen. His reputation, shredded through carefully placed rumors. Within a week, Femi was ruined. At the next meeting, Femi's chair sat empty. The message was clear: loyalty doesn't protect you. Usefulness does. The moment you become a liability, you're erased. Chidi drove home in silence. Femi's pleading eyes burned into his memory. Chidi's younger brother called him, voice shaking. Chidi, I lost my job today. They said budget cuts, but my manager mentioned your name. What's going on? Chidi's blood ran cold. My name. What did he say? He said some people called. Important people. Said I shouldn't be working there anymore. It was happening. The Brotherhood was sending a message through his family. Stay in line, or everyone you love suffers. 2 days later, his mother called. Their landlord, who'd been understanding for years, suddenly demanded immediate payment of rent. When his father went to his construction site, the contract had mysteriously been terminated. Chidi called Chief Adelik, rage and fear mixing in his voice. Chief, why is my family being targeted? I've done everything you asked. Have you? Chief's voice was calm. Because I've heard whispers that you're unhappy. That you're thinking of distancing yourself. We are simply reminding you that your choices affect more than just you. This is blackmail. This is protection, Chief corrected. We protect our brothers. But brothers who consider leaving, well, we can't protect them anymore. Accidents happen. Opportunities disappear. You understand? Chidi understood perfectly. The Brotherhood hadn't just trapped him. They trapped everyone he loved. His chains were made of his family's safety. When he denied involvement to his brother, the lie tasted like poison. But the truth would have tasted worse. Amora found the document by accident. Chidi had left his laptop open, and she'd needed to check her email. The folder was marked private, which should have stopped her. But something, intuition, fear, love, made her click. What she found broke her. Messages between Chidi and the Brotherhood. Names of people destroyed. Money transferred for silencing problems. Photos of gatherings that looked more like cult meetings than business networking. When Chidi came home, she was sitting in darkness, the laptop glowing in front of her. What is this? Her voice wasn't angry. It was worse. It was broken. Chidi's mind raced, searching for explanations, lies, anything. But looking at her face, the face of someone who'd loved him despite sensing something wrong, the lies wouldn't come. It's not what you think, he started weakly. Then what is it? Tell me these messages are fake. Tell me you're not part of whatever this is. He wanted to. God, he wanted to. But the truth was sitting there, undeniable, damning. Amora, I can explain. Just give me time. Time. She laughed bitterly. How much time? How long have you been lying? How long have I been sleeping next to a stranger? She stood, grabbing her bag. Don't contact me. I need to think. Please, it's not safe for you to. Safe. She turned, eyes blazing. You're worried about my safety. You're the danger, Chidi. The door slammed. Love had finally turned into fear. And he had no one to blame but himself.